Let's begin to come alive to the now moment and the power and the presence of God that fills our very being, fills this entire space with energy and light and joy and an awareness of the possibilities for new beginnings, new accomplishments, right here and right now. So much has been happening within just the last few weeks that it's exciting to be a part of it. Now, maybe I'm only the crazy one who gets wired. No, I know Paul is as wired up as I am. All you have to do is be inside of him, and you can see that joy just rippling. And as you get close to him, it just kind of goes over you like a wave. Okay? So, he's wired, and so am I. You know, a long time ago when I was a kid, one of our gym teachers in elementary school, one of his favorite things for us to do, probably to make sure when we left the field we had no energy left to get into mischief, he'd have us do tug of war. You know, that's where you create two teams with a rope and they're pulling in opposite directions. And the loser gets drugged through the dirt or the mud. And I was one of those truly blessed because I ate a lot of dirt. But the idea is that everyone on each team was totally committed to anchoring the line and then pulling it with all their might. And sometimes that worked that way. And other times someone said, I'm not eating any more dirt, and let go and let it go. And years later, when I was teaching, substitute teaching in a junior high or middle school, as they're called here, I was watching my class I had brought into the gym. The teacher handled it, but I was expected to stay in the room in case someone had to be removed gently. And watching the kids play basketball, the boys in this instance. And I said, well, do you think you're going to have a really good team this year? He said, no, I've got too many superstars. Superstars are only aimed at making their own goals. And they don't make good team players. And the power to succeed comes from teamwork. Now, Chris won't do things that I can do, and fortunately for everyone in here, I don't sing instead of Chris, because it would be painful. We each have skills and talents, and when we bring them all together for the good of the whole, we can do anything, truly anything. Just think about what has been accomplished in the last couple of weeks. A building desperately needing renovation with no budget to do that has been sold to someone who ain't gonna keep it anyway in exchange for the resources to buy the new building and enough financial resources left to renovate that building. Now, to me, that is awesome. Absolutely awesome. Just think how many other people, how many other congregations would do anything to be in that position. A few years ago, for my little bitty congregation, we were just trying to find a new place to rent. And one realtor finally got real honest with us and said, with what little you have for the search, it's not worth my time. And that's how we ended up here. Because when the property we were in, we'd been there 10 years, went behind a construction fence, we got 4 days' notice. And it was only because Reverend Paul was ready to say yes, to invite us to come here, that we had someplace to go. Now, we did have to spend 2 Sundays meeting In a recreation center, think a boys' gym locker. That's the ambiance. 2 services, unfortunately, then we got out. So I understand how exciting it is to have the resources come together with perfect timing to fulfill every desire, every needed improvement that this congregation needs to grow into a more positive, more vibrant future. You know, if you spend too many years sitting satisfied right where you are, you just kind of slowly die away. If you're not growing forward, you're dying. Okay? And some of us wake up just before the last minute and decide, wait, I'm going to seize life. I'm going to do good stuff. And some of us can just slip right on through. And I don't think anyone in this room wants to be that kind of person. We all want to be proactive and creating a dynamic center of spiritual growth that welcomes anyone and everyone. And the most empowering thing about this place is that we stop looking at differences and looking at who we really are as the sons and daughters of God so that we can work together to create that vibrant future that we want, that we deserve, and that we are building now. So let's begin. Forget the superstars that play by themselves. We can become team members, building the foundation and then opening up every possibility for good. When I look at this ministry, what I see, the way I have it in my own mind, is that there's the side that's service, and that's our giving out and our serving others. And on the left side is what I would call education. Spiritual education, which involves the classes, it involves prayer ministry, and it involves these services, so that we create a balanced whole. Because if we're not spiritually alive and growing, we don't have anything to give anyone else. We have to nurture our own spirits first and then give birth to the dream. Years ago, back before Oprah chose the book Color Purple for her list, I read the book. And it's been long enough that I can't even remember who was speaking. But the thing I came away from that book with was the statement that most people go to church to find God. Truth is, she said, the only God you're going to find in church is the one you brought in the door with yourself. Okay? It's up to us to leave the stuff outside, to bring our awareness of the presence of God in each one of us. It's not in the building. The building gives us a place to do the work. But God is present in each one of us. And when we come through the doors looking to behold the Christ in each one we meet, we find it. We find it when we look for it. We are so blessed with the opportunity to celebrate together. You know, when my congregation first came here, I think they probably thought they died and gone to heaven. Because we had a full-time facility. There were more classes several days a week. There was real music up here as opposed to just a soloist. But most important of all, what they had longed for were places for community service. And when you're in a building, you don't have that opportunity. But coming into this facility suddenly presented us with the opportunity to serve, to give back, and to grow together. One of the real drawbacks we had where we were meeting it was a senior citizen center. The only people we attracted were senior citizens. It's not exactly a diverse congregation, but we came here and found ourselves with all ages, with so much energy and aliveness, and some of it on the short 2 feet racing around. We had to get used to watching out for those, because we only occasionally had children there because they only came when they were visiting grandma or grandpa. So this coming together has allowed us to experience one another in a different way. I hope some of you have managed to discover that just because I'm over the hill doesn't mean I'm dead. I'm very much alive and involved and eager to be a part of the greater whole. You think there's such stuff as discrimination, sexism and all that kind of stuff, and we're grateful for the new marriage equality. But remember, yes, we are. Being old has always been against the rules. Okay? You take up space somebody else could have. So someone like me, I understand what it means for this law to be passed, the ruling to be passed, that eliminates one more layer of inequality. All right? Now what we do is we build on that. We build on that because we can't be discriminated against. That's true. But we also know there's still some people who aren't ready for that. And we have to allow those people to be who they are somewhere else. If we begin the process of learning to look for love, to look for the Christ in each one, we will find it in unexpected places. But where we don't find it, at least not responsive to us, we have to let it pass on by and not take it on as something to be angry about or to get hooked into it. Because you know what? It's not our problem. Somebody else's stuff only becomes my stuff when I accept delivery. I am a child of God. I am worthy of God's love. And everyone in this room is just as worthy. Now, a lot of us probably have a problem saying, I'm a child of God made in the image and likeness of God. Because we grew up hearing other people tell us other stuff. All that stuff about being evil or being stupid or being the wrong color or the wrong sex, all that stuff. It's stuff. Put it out with the garbage. And be who you were created to be. That radiant, loving child of God. There are, and we are proof of it, there are no impossible dreams when we put mind, heart, and spirit to the purpose, to our focus, to our vision. When we bring all of who we are, and I'm not talking about this selfish ego stuff, but our desire for equality, our desire for love and purpose and passion as the sons and daughters of God. When we bring that together, nothing is impossible, not a thing. We can do anything. Yes, we can. One of my favorite authors wrote a book years and years and years ago in which he said, there is no kingdom of heaven except on earth. So there is no way to achieve heaven except through achieving it on earth. And the only way to achieve heaven on earth is to serve God on earth. And the only way to serve God on earth is in serving God's creation on earth. We serve God by serving others. We learn to love God as we love others. In Matthew 22, it says, the first commandment, you shall love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all thy mind, with all thy strength, with all thy spirit. And a second is you shall love your neighbor as yourself. I truly believe that until we learn to love ourselves as the creation of God, the child of God, the heir of Jesus Christ, until we learn to love ourselves, it's not possible to love our neighbor or even God. We have to be love before we can become loving. And in loving God, in loving our neighbor and ourselves, we are so attuned to the universe that we can open our arms and say yes to any imagined possibility. As we come together in faith and come together to serve God, we open doors wherever we go, doors of possibility, new understandings. We often quote Galatians 3:28, but having studied Paul, thanks to Stephanie, and if you want to know Paul, you just need to know Stephanie. It's been a treat. I'm so glad that Reverend Paul suggested that we join our classes, allowing Stephanie to become co-teacher with me. But anyway, if we begin at the beginning of that quote, it says, "For in Christ Jesus you are all children of God through faith. As many of you as were baptized into Christ have clothed yourselves with Christ. Then there is no longer Jew or Greek, slave nor free. There is no longer male and female. For all of you are one in Christ Jesus." And the reason that is so important to me is to understand is that it is our faith in God and our commitment to do God's will that creates this community of faith. And Paul really emphasized that idea, these little churches in these scattered cities where he brought these people together and brought them into community so that they supported one another, they loved one another. They taught, they gathered together, and they grew in that community. Now, when Paul referred to loving everyone equally, he was only talking about within the community. But that community was not exclusive. Anytime someone wanted to come into the faith, it was an open door. And that is what we are. We don't care where you come from or what you've done. If you are open to faith in God through Jesus Christ, then you belong here. And together we can accomplish great things just finding a new building and getting that building up to code and supporting the staff and the teachings, but also laying the foundation for even greater works of service to our community. Let's begin now as one people under God, ready to set aside every judgment of the world and say yes to God. In God, nothing is impossible. And we are one in God right here and right now. Don't settle for anything less. Let's begin and do it together now.